also the key house, and others. And then we say that the hardware is being categorized into input devices and output devices, whereby the input devices are devices that take information into the computer, is used to enter data, commands, or instructions to the computer, while the output devices are devices that take information outside of the computer system. Basically, they are used communicate results, process data or information back to the user. And typical example of the output devices, as explained yesterday, include a speaker, monitor, and the rest. Then finally, you brainstormed on a photocopy machine where they explained that photocopy machine is an input and output device because it has a scanner that is used to take information to the computer and it has a printer which is being used to bring out information as a duplicate of what you have scanned earlier. Then the second component of the computer is software, which is a software are just set of instructions being used to give a computer a command to perform a particular task. And it's been categorized into system software, which include the operating system like the Windows, the Mac OS, the Ubuntu OS, Chrome OS, Linux, and what have you. Then the second part of the computer software is the application software, which include utility applications like the Gmail, WhatsApp, Microsoft Office Suite, among other applications. And then we looked at computer memory, which is the storage of the computer system, and we say it's been categorized into two. We have the RAM, which is random access memory, which is a volatile or temporary storage, and then we have ROM, which is read-only memory, which is a permanent storage in contrast to the RAM. So that's basically what we have covered in the two, which is yesterday. And for today, we are looking at turn off, hibernate, sleep, and restart of a computer system, which basically we categorize them as power options. They are all used to turn off the computer, maybe when you are doing work, or maybe when you are taking a break, whether it's been a short break or a very long break, or maybe you want the computer to shut down and bring back. I mean, turn off and turn on automatically, which is the restart. So let's start with the turn off. So turning computer off, which is also called shutdown, it involves safely closing all the running programs. Like now I'm using PowerPoint and also Zoom for this presentation. So when I'm shutting down my computer or turning the computer off, it means I'm closing all the running applications and I'm cutting the power of the computer. That means totally the power of the computer will be off. Like I disconnected the battery, there is no power, all the applications are off. And I don't need the computer again for that particular thing. And this is normally being used at the close of office hours. When you are doing the job of just turn off your computer so that when you come back tomorrow, you start afresh. Then why do we need to turn off our computer? So anybody can give us a hint from the chat box. Why do we need to turn off our computer, please? Before we proceed to the next thing, I want the class to be engaging. Let me see your chat. Why do we need to turn off our computer system? Okay. You see, normally as civil servants, when we are done for the day, normally we close by 4 or 5, and we have done all the jobs for that particular day. We need to turn on the computer system so that the computer can be put to rest. Okay. So anybody from the chat? I'm not seeing any chat here. Okay. So the next thing is the hibernate and sleep of a computer system. When we look at the sleep option, sleep simply means we keep our computer not totally powered up. That means it keeps the session in memory and it is being utilizing a little amount of power. That means the applications are not totally closed and the computer is not totally off. That's why when you put your computer on sleep, you can see it is blinking. It is And when you compare that to Hibernate in this case, the applications are not totally closed, but the computer is turned off as we uh, power on the computer back to find ourselves where we left it before we shut the computer up. But all the applications are open. And the difference between sleep and hibernate basically is that when we are putting a computer for a sleep, it's just for a very short break. Like maybe you are working in your office, you are going for a like 5 minutes tea break or maybe 10 minutes tea break or a prayer that will last for like 15 to 20 minutes. Instead of you to shut down your computer, that means to turn it off. You just put it on sleep so that it is not totally powered off. As you are done with the short break, maybe it's prayer time or tea break, as you come back, you can continue using your computer from where you stopped. While in the case of hibernation, maybe you are going for a very long break that will last for like 2 hours, 1 hour, or more than that. So you need to shut off your turn off your computer, but you don't want it to be totally off, which basically means you want to continue from where you stop. Maybe you are typing a report in your computer system and you are going for a meeting that might take like 1 hour or 2 hours. So instead of you to put the computer on sleep while it is utilizing the battery slowly, so you prefer to put it on hibernate so that the battery is not being utilized. So as you come back, you turn on the computer system, you continue from where you stop without losing any file or without losing track of any instant during your work. Then the last thing is restart. Restart simply involves refreshing the computer system normally to install updates or maybe to fix some lags. And this normally happens when we update a software, like maybe you updated your Windows to the latest version. So as you are waiting the computer involves total shutdown of the computer system, thereby closing all the applications, closing all the programs you are working on, and then automatically turning the computer back on without you pressing the power button. So these are basically the four power options that we have in the computer system, which is the turn off, hibernate, sleep, and restart. I hope I'm communicating sense to each and every one of us. Are we okay? So now let's take a practical of how we can practice these four power options. Okay, that's very good. So let me stop sharing my screen so that I can show us where we can navigate to these power options. Because most of the times the hibernate option is not available in the computer. So let me quickly jump here. Okay, so now assuming okay, sorry. Okay, let me use this space. So you see, when we go, like I'm using Windows 10, when I go to the start button, maybe if I left click on it, you see I will have a lot of options, and here I have the power option. You see, I have all the options that I have made mention. You have the sleep option. You see, it just as I put my cursor on it, it gives a brief information of what sleep does. Then the next thing we have the hibernate and we have the shutdown and then finally the start. So most of the times you see the hibernate option is not available on the computer system. You might need to turn it on. Unlike the shutdown that is always available, the restart and also the sleep. Also from the keyboard, you see this crescent moon symbol. You can have it on our keyboard. As you click it, the computer will go to sleep. So I don't want to stop the presentation. I think I will just, I don't have to restart my computer or shut it down. So let me show you how you can activate the navigate option. So you can go to the control panel, go to the settings of your computer. Maybe let me go to the settings. If you are using Windows 8 or Windows 7, you can, okay, I don't know whether you are seeing the screen. Let me share the whole screen, please. Okay. Now I'm sharing the whole screen. So you see, I can go to the system. If you are not going for the control panel from the system here, I can look for power and sleep options. So let me go to the additional settings, additional power settings. So you see, if you are using control panel, you still get to here. You understand? This is the control panel. When you open it, you just look for hardware and sound. Then you go to power options. Okay. Then you now click on this, choose what the power buttons do. So you see, when you look at this screen here, you see I have the options, the sleep option and the hibernate. So normally, if it is not on, so you can go here and click on change settings. So you see now it is marked on. That's where I can be able to see it. So if it is off, you can just click it to be marked. Then you now save changes. So to when you go back to the power option, you can be able to see the hibernate option. So this is how you can activate it. Or maybe you can go to the on top of the battery bar. You can click on power option to take you directly to the settings that we have just seen. So let me go back to the presentation. I think I'm communicating sense. Please. Are you with me? Let me see thumbs up or comments from the chat box. Okay, thank you very much, Yaya. Thank you very much. So let me get back to my presentation. So this is what we have just illustrated. That's the power options. So I think we can move to the next thing, which is sorry, which is the cursor mouse and the touchpad. So these are three major things, and the mouse and the touchpad are just used to control the cursor. What is the cursor? The cursor is the blinking line or an arrow that shows where typing or action will happen on our computer screen. So if you can see my screen, you see I'm having my cursor. I'm just like moving it around the screen. You see, and for the Windows, these are basically the three most commonly used uh, cursor symbols. We have the first symbol here, which is an arrowhead, and this an arrowhead is normally used while moving from one thing to another on the screen. And for the link, which we call it the mouse, you see, we use it to control wherever I'm going to click. I'll just move my cursor to that place and click while it's showing this arrow key. And this uh, symbol that looks like a hand, normally it is used when you are pressing a link. So as I take this cursor towards a link, it changes to the symbol of this hand, something like this, which means I'm opening a browser link. But for the case where I'm typing, it shows something like this. It's like an eye. That means I'm typing. So I'm going to illustrate how the cursor changes as we are using it. And for those using Mac OS, these are the equivalent symbols of the cursor that you are going to see. And for the links, it's like the symbol of a hand. That's what we are seeing. Then now we move to the mouse. So the mouse is what we use to control the cursor normally in desktop computers. You see, it is we have wireless and we have wired mouse. Like in this example, you see, we are showing wired mouse, and it basically have three key uh, clicks or options that I can see. When you put your hand on the mouse, you put your finger, your index finger, normally on the left click, which is used to select an item from your computer screen, and you can use your middle finger to put it on the right click. Thereby, you see this what do you call it? The scrolling bar or the scrolling wheel will be between your index finger and the middle finger, and you're using your thumb to hold the right side of your mouse, and the other three ring finger and the little finger to hold the right side of your mouse. Thereby, you have a full control of the mouse. And we normally use the index finger to control the scroll wheel. So that means that scroll wheel is being used to navigate vertically on your screen. That means up and down. That's how we use it to do that. And normally the left click, as I said, is used to select an option from your computer screen, while the right click is being used to give an options. It gives you a lot of options, and I'm going to illustrate that. Then the next thing, which is the touchpad. So the touchpad is what we normally see on our laptop computers. It is very much equivalent to the mouse, only that on the touchpad, we normally don't see the scroll wheel. We normally use our two fingers to scroll up and down or left to right. And as in the case of the mouse, we have the left click and the right click on the touchpad. The left click is the left side, the left part of the click that is available on the touchpad, and the right click is the leftmost click for that's available on the touchpad. So let me just illustrate. You see, like now, on this presentation, when I click on the right click, you see, I will have a lot of options. And when I click on the left click, you see, since I'm not selecting anything, you see, it navigates to the next slide, meaning that I've clicked uh, right left click, I mean, sorry. So when we come to the folder session, we are going to see how we use the left click and the right click on the mouse as well as the touchpad, as the touchpad is being used normally in computer systems. And in the case of civil service activities, you see proper navigation improves speed in terms of like writing reports, retrieving files, sending official memos or emails. If you have a proper navigation on the computer screen, you'll have uh, more control over what you are doing. So the next thing we are looking at is the folder creation. What is the folder? Folder is where we organize our files. We just put our files in cluster in a single place instead of us to be having the files differently. Like for instance, as you are working in your office, you might required to have different folder for each particular work. Maybe you have a report on pension, for instance, for a particular month of, let's say, January, February, March, up to September. Instead of you to be having the files randomly, maybe the pensioners you are having in your civil service, maybe they are about 100. So you see, you need to have their particular report for January, February, March, up to September. So if you have a proper folder management, you can be able to create a folder for January in particular, you create a folder for February, for March, up to the month of September, and you name the folders accordingly. So that will ensure you have a proper file management. So under this, we are going to create a folder. We are going to name that particular folder, and then we rename it using another name, and then we look at archive. So let me uh, share my screen so that you can see how we can create a folder. So let me move to this folder here where we have some files. So if I'm going to create a new folder, I have two options. You see from the menus here, I have a new folder. If I click on that, it will create a folder in that particular in the folder here. You see it is given name as new folder. So I can name it with the name I want. Let's say I want to name it as the three practice. For instance, I will after writing whatever the name I need, I'll just click on enter. So you see it has given a name. And if I like, I can create another folder. Let's say for a report for a particular month of January, maybe I can see January. If I like, I can use underscore report. I can use another underscore 2025. So you see, once I see the three practice, it will just come to my mind that I'm referring to the practice for the three, for the capacity building of 1,000 civil servants on ICT. Or maybe if it's a report, I believe that this is a report for January 2025. So you have different ways of naming your folder. But it is not advisable to just keep your folder as maybe as it is by its default name, like new folder. Maybe you create another one, new folder too. That is not professional. You need to organize your folder, you name it properly. So another way to create a folder, I can use my touchpad or my mouse and click on right click. You see, it will give me a lot of options here. So I can navigate here to the new, and you see I have a new folder. If I click on that, it's going to give me chance to create another folder. So let me call this February underscore report underscore 2025, then I hit enter. So you see, I have a more appropriate way of seeing what I'm doing here because I've been naming the folders. So now, if I'm going for renaming the folder, this new folder, let me rename it into another thing. Okay, so you have two options. One, you can just click once, you click on your touchpad, or you click on your left click once. You see now I'm the folder, I click once, it will allow me to edit the name of that particular folder. So let me name it as maybe data science documents, for instance. So you see, I know what I mean by these data science documents, and maybe it's just documents that composed of data science related things. So another way to rename the folder, when I'm on the folder, I can click on right click. It will give me options. You see, when I go down, I can see rename. So I can be able to rename that particular folder from there. Maybe I can call it data analytics documents, for instance. So you see, I'm able to rename that particular folder. Then the next thing we are looking under here is archiving. So archiving simply involves compressing larger files. Like here I have, let's say 8 files, including 5 folders and 2 PowerPoint slides and 1 image. So if I want to compress these files into a single document, or for instance, I want to compress a particular folder here, maybe the data analytics, for instance. So let me see, copy these files into the folder so that the folder at least can contain some documents. So you see, when I open the data analytics folder documents, you see I have 2 documents. So archiving the folder means I'm compressing these files into a single document, which is a very important practice, especially in the civil service work, as it is being used. For instance, if you want to transfer files through email, instead of sending individual files, you can just compress them into a single folder and send it. And also, it's very used. It's very used in storage management, so that your files will not be scattered around your folder. So the best practice here is if I like, I want to make this folder to be an archive. That means I'll receive the folder. So I can just right click on the folder. I can have send, which is applicable in Windows 8 through 10 and 11. So when you click on send, you now go to compressed or zipped folder. That means I'm making it to be an archive as a single document to be more secure. When I click that, You see, it is now compressing the files, and it has done the compression of the file and it's giving me chance to rename the file if I like. So if I want to rename the file, I can just add maybe zipped, for instance, or archived or something like that. You see, I have data analytics documents zipped and I have data analytics documents. So that's how we can archive our files, and it's very important in terms of storage management, organization, security, because if we like, we can put password to it for ease of transfer, or maybe if we are backing up some documents. So I hope you are with me, and it's very important to rename it appropriately so that you can be able to identify the file as it is now in the case of what compressed or zipped folder. So let me get back to my presentation and see what we have next. Okay, so now we move on to partitions. So copy simply means we duplicate the file without to another. Then test. Okay, I think we'll have to rejoin again so that we can be able to. Okay, I think we are good to go. So, okay, I'm coming to that, Abdurrahman. You said more explanation on the archive. I'm coming to that. Let me get back to here. So, I'm talking about copy, which basically means I'll be duplicating that particular document. So, you see, when I click on the one, you see, I have copy here. So, when I copy it, and also paste it on the same folder. You see, I have the one, which is a copy, which means the one copy is a duplicate of the one. And the original document, if you can continue, you can. So, as we have been discussing about the copy, cut, and paste, so you see, this D1 copy is a duplicate of D1, while D1 is the original document. So I have not altered the original document. That's what we mean by copy. Simply to duplicate a file without removing the original file. So now, if I'm cutting, so let me cut D1. You see, from here also we have cut. And if I like, I can like click so that I can see the options of cut and copy, which applies the same thing to the copy here as well as the cut here. So let me cut this B1 file. Let me move back to the main folder. You see, we have only the three. So if I need to paste it, I can click on the paste from here. You see, I pasted the one. So another option to uh, copy and paste, as I have said, you can right click if you like. I can just right click on it. I can see the cut as well as the copy and change what I can see from the menu bar here. And also, I can use my keyboard. With the copy, I can hold my control button from the keyboard and then see. You see, it's a little bit dim. Okay, sorry, I think I'm not sharing my screen. Okay, I'm not sharing my screen. I'm sorry. Okay, I think you can see my screen now. Sorry. So I can use if maybe let me get back to the data analytics. So if I want to copy with one, so I can uh, press my control button from the keyboard, I can hold it down and then press on C. So which basically means I've copied with one schedule. So if I navigate to the folder I'm getting it, I can either use the text from here or I click and click on paste here. Or if I like, I can press down console and P button, thereby pasting that particular file. Are we okay? So this is what we mean by the copy, cut, and paste. So for the paste, you can copy a file from a particular location into another location, whereby from the initial location we have the file there. Like if you look at this one, I've copied it, not cutting. I copy it. So that's why I have it here in this folder, and again I have it in another folder here. But for the case of the one, if you remember, I cut it, not copy. This is a duplicate. I cut the original D1 file and then paste it here. Thereby, it is no longer available in the previous folder. That's the difference between copy and paste. And in syntax, it's very important uh, to have these practices in place because you can use it to copy a memo draft for records. For instance, you are working on a particular file, you can copy the file and put it in another folder and work with it without losing the original file, which basically you can treat it as a draft. When it is approved, then you can cut it from the previous location into the new location. So that is what we have. So let me go back um, to my slide so that we can move on to the next thing because of time. So that is the quality part and how we use it. So now we can move to the question and answer session, which I was asked by Abdurrahman to elaborate more on the folder archiving. So when we talk about archiving simply means compressing or packaging one or multiple files or folders into a single document or into a single smaller document. Normally, they are very used when you are maybe sending a file maybe through email, you understand, or maybe you are trying to merge a lot of files into a single folder for easy moving from one point to another instead of to be having a lot of files. I'll give an example like maybe you have list of your staffs that maybe will be off for a particular month. So you can create a folder and have a list of those staff that are absent, maybe that are off in January, those that are off in February, those that are off in March, and what have you. So you can create a folder for those particular months. So maybe your manager asks you to send those files to him. So instead of you to be sending different folders for January, February, March, and what have you, you can archive all the files maybe and name it uh, staff that are out for maybe 2025. You understand? Or staffs on leave for 2025. So if you just cut all the folders for January, February, and March, you put it in that particular folder, then you compress it. So let me move back to the folder so that we can see how we can do that. So you see now as I am back here, so maybe let me copy all these D1, D2, and D3. Let me copy it and maybe put it in February report. So you see I put it here. Maybe I'm sending this three files. Today will be to be sending all the files independently, or maybe I'm backing up the files. I can decide to archive this folder so that I can just like click on it, move on to send to, then compress or zip folder. So you see it will automatically archive this particular folder. Maybe I can just rename it as February report 2025 underscore archive. And we have some other software applications that we can use to archive folders. The default software is what I've shown you here in page, also available in
Thank
8 and also in 9. So please, do you have any question again so that we can call it a day? So feel free to please drop your observations or questions, please. I'm in the chat box now. Okay, Mustafa Sani.
Hey, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
So, my question is that how can I archive my folder using which software or I miss the sharing of that screen.
Okay, you mean how are you going to archive?
A folder
Uh,
or
okay, let me share my screen again so that you can see. Uh,
okay, thank you, sir.
so what? Let me like now. I don't know if you can see my screen. Here in the February, you see
Hey, I can see your screen now.
I have three files. So if I need to archive this particular folder, you can just go ahead and right click on that folder, then go
Battery
to
is low. Please
then
recharge in time.
folder. So you see, it is now this February folder is different from the February report here. So you can see even icon here is an icon of a folder, and here is the icon of an archived
Battery
file.
is
And
low.
another software that
Please
you use to archive your file, we have WinRAR, which is
Assalamu
very good.
alaikum.
And we have 7Z.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. So this is what we have. We have WinZip, we have 7-zip, WinRAR, Ultra ISO, and a lot of other software that you can use to archive.
So, madam, my another
So any question again, I'm in the chat box. Drop your questions in the chat, please. So you see, every computer you can use it, every computer to create a simple archive using the built-in zip option in the Windows, which is one that I have already shown. If you like, you can use other tools like the WinRAR, WinZip, Ultra ISO, and many other softwares. Because archiving is very useful when sending bulk documents, maybe like staff records, maybe payrolls, scanned documents via email or something like that. So just feel free to drop your question here on the chat box. So we are already running out of time. So I think, okay, I'm seeing a question here. So you said, what is the difference between archived folder and the original folder? So you see, the archived folder, all the files are matched and been in a secure place. While in terms of the original folder, the files are not secured as much as that in the archived folder. So let me just segregate it into some parts. That if people look at format and size, normally archived folders are in smaller size because they are compressed. That means the size is being reduced. But the original folder has a bigger size. For instance, your original folder might be maybe around 30 megabytes, but the zip folder will be around 20 megabytes. And also in terms of accessibility, the original folder is more accessible to a person than the archived folder because in terms of the archived folder, you must extract the files first. So let me go back to the folder so that you can see it more clearly. So now you see this February report. Let me add a word to it, maybe underscore archive. So you see, this is the February report. So for this February report archive, for me to see the content in that particular folder, I'll have to right click on that and click on extract all. That means I will have to extract the files that are in the archive before I can be able to see them. You see, it will ask me which location do I need to put it, so you can navigate through your computer system. You can just choose any place. So let me just leave it where it is now. So I can just click on extract. Here I said show extracted files. So I just unmark it. So when I click extract, it will start extracting all the files and it will create another folder for you. So maybe I send it somewhere. Please let me extract it again because I want it to be in this particular folder. Okay, sorry, it has extracted already. Look at it here. February report 2025 archive. And the original folder is February report 2025. So that's another difference. And also in terms of security, you can use like WinRAR or Ultra ISO to put password to the archived folder. So that's the difference. So let me take one last question, then we call it a day. So this person is asking if the document consists of table, how can we create a table? So we are coming to that. We are coming to that. When you talk of table, maybe you are talking about the Microsoft utility softwares. We are coming to the table here. We're talking about folder and files, not table. Then, okay, I think that's the that's all. So I think that's also you can just So since we have no question, thank you for listening, and I hope from this session today we are able to uh, have background on power options. You can be able to explain or differentiate between turn off, hibernate, sleep, and restart functions and identify when to use each of them. And you can effectively use the cursor mouse using mouse and touchpad for navigation and control. And I believe you can be able to create a folder, name the folder, rename it, and archive the folders for proper documentation. And finally, you can be able to perform copy, cut, and paste operations to manage files and information efficiently in all our civil service uh, activities or jobs. So thank you for being with me today. So I hope you will have a good and good night rest. Thank you very much. So with this, we have come to the end of the class. So thank you.